Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another live session. So I tracked the numbers, and this is number 68. So doing a really, really good job at trying to press these lives, and obviously excited to see everybody. And thank you so much for joining, as always. So before we dive in and jump into the questions, and that's going to happen soon, let's chat about a couple things just to kind of get us warmed up as people are jumping into the live session. So, the thumbnail that I created for today's video, obviously, as you know, if you've been to these lives before, we're going to do more of a generic Q&A today, but let's talk a little bit about Google Cloud and what's going on. And, what I'm not seeing is on the ground layer. Too much complaining, too much worrying about what's happening in the organization. There's obviously a huge push to grow Google Cloud, but at the leadership level, something's definitely happening because of the amount of high level leaders that have left the Google Cloud organization. And it's just something that you really want to keep a pulse on as you're thinking about going into Google Cloud. Now, I coach a ton of people for Google Cloud. I think it's a great opportunity, lots of opportunity for, especially on the sales side, sales engineering side, anything that has an incentive to make a lot of money, because GCP is a fantastic product. But what's going on at the leadership level, it's just something that we'll keep a pulse on, and absolutely happy to answer any questions on that item today. The video yesterday, check it out. It was more non-tech focused. It was pretty high level, but I just wanted to do a Google interview for non-tech. It's something that people ask for a lot. Most of my stuff is non-tech. I'm not technical. So if you want to check that video out, it's a little bit on the longer end. We also did, I jumped in to do a little bit more on the distribution of jobs and what that looks like from LinkedIn's perspective. So I thought that piece was interesting. Couple more quick items and then we'll dive in. If you are interested in coaching, interview coaching or negotiation coaching, you can find those services at practiceinterviews.com. with a course. And I've been kind of prompting in the lives to offer a discount, and I'm going to do the same thing today. I don't know how long I'll keep doing this for, but if you type in the code DOG, D-O-G in caps, until 11:59 p.m. tonight Pacific time, there'll be a $100 discount on the course. Getting tons and tons of positive feedback on that course, so really excited about that. That's it. All right, we're about 3 minutes in. This is pretty standard, so we're going to go through all the questions. I will answer all the questions. A couple weeks ago, we hit that 2-hour mark, and I just couldn't get to everything. But typically, we're going to be able to answer all the questions. I typically run behind. We'll get about 20 minutes behind right off the bat. I'll get behind quickly, so stick with me. No need to double up on the questions. I'll see them. I'll go in order. And then lastly, we are a positive platform, so it doesn't mean that everything I'm going to say is going to be positive, but keeping it positive is it's a great way to look at life. So let's go ahead and dive in. And I just want to say thank you again so much for being here. Okay, Jen, it looks like we missed the first half of this, so I'll try and answer it just because you're first. So somebody from the comp team said it was the max offer and that it wasn't up for negotiation, but everything seemed pretty low. Should you push back? Yes. Push back one more time. Just push back with graciousness and kindness. Since we don't have the first part of this, I'm just going to say really push on equity if equity's in play. It's the easiest thing for these big companies to be able to add on to because it's low risk for them. They can add equity pretty easily. It's spread over time, etc. Good luck, and if we can get that first half, come back and let us know the first half. Once you're in Google, is it easy to switch business units from ads to cloud, for example? Yes. Okay, so this is a great question. It's easy to switch business units, but switching roles is more difficult. Switching roles will require interviews. They got to treat you kind of like an external candidate. So, for instance, for me, I went from program management recruiting, mostly data center space, to cloud software engineers, but I stayed as a technical recruiter. So totally different organizations, totally different roles. Everything was different, but I was still doing the same job. So that's the way you want to think about it. Recruiter emailed me stating that she's checking with the hiring committee for a role. Hiring committee, interesting, and would get back to me, but the trail has gone cold as the email was 12 days ago from her, followed up, but no reply. Checking with hiring committee on the role, that's kind of interesting. I would wonder if that was not hiring committee, but hiring team. Email again, follow up again. Sometimes we're just going to have to go through this path of following up multiple times. If we hit that point where it's 3 weeks, 4 weeks, then we need to go on LinkedIn. We need to poke hiring managers, recruiting coordinators, sourcers, give your recruiter a little more time, but not too much more time. Okay. And when we hit that 3-week mark, I'm usually going to go looking for somebody else because that's just an absolutely ridiculous amount of time to wait. Clear the technical round in GCS. You have your presentation interview and Googliness. Any tips? Yep. Presentation interview, practice with a minimum of 5 different people. They're going to give you different perspectives on the deck and the overall content. Googliness, both sides of the coin, right? It's Googliness and leadership. They're combined. So negative stuff, unethical, conflict, positive stuff, inclusivity, mentorship, etc. Googliness tends, the G&L Googliness and leadership interview tends to lean behavioral, but be ready for open-ended as well. Want to stop by and let you know after 4 grueling months in the application process, you're happy to say that you accepted the offer with Google. Resources were a game changer. Thank you so much for coming back and letting us know. I know you've been here and hanging out with us for a while, and now it's the opportunity to not have to listen to me anymore and kind of move on. But congrats, and just to the whole audience, showing up and coming back and showing gratitude is such an amazing thing, and it does keep me going. Because it can just be grindy to be on YouTube all the time. Not everything that comes my way is positive, so hearing this positivity is amazing. Congrats and good luck. Completed all the on-site interviews at Google. Recruiter said it would be 2 to 3 weeks until you hear back. Is there anything I can do at this point to help my candidacy? Can I suggest internal references as I have some? Yes. If you were going to suggest anything, you can suggest internal references. The biggest thing to remember with internal references can help you a little. They can hurt you a lot. So if you are going to provide an internal reference, you better be 100% sure that they're going to say great things. Okay, good luck. A YouTube recruiter found me for a PM role, passed me to a PM phone screen, went well, then said she will connect me with a Google recruiter after team matching. Is that typical? Yeah, Jamie, yeah, I think I followed up with you on Slack, but let's do it here for the larger audience. Seeing a little more of this. The initial interviews that go well, they want to find that team match before the on-site stage. This is going to speed up the process at the end. So yes, this is very common, and good luck. What are the different kinds of jobs in Google Cloud? Any suite, and how can I prepare myself to get noticed by a cloud team? You have Google Cloud certs. Is that even useful to get a job at Google? Okay. Well, there's a million different types of jobs in Google Cloud, so we won't go through all of them. Yes, absolutely, Google Cloud hires specifically for software engineers. How can you prepare yourself to get noticed? Well, continue to work on your skill set and come up with a giving first networking strategy. We can put that video as a resource, but you really want to focus in on a giving first model, not reaching out and asking for a job. That's a horrible approach. You can obviously apply. It's not quite as effective. And yeah, Google certifications are good. They're not good in the fact that they're going to jump you above other candidates. It's good in the sense that you have a knowledge base for the products. That's where it's going to be really important. Thank you for all your videos. They were an important part of the interview prep. You're now with the approvals group after matching with the hiring manager. Comp negotiation would be next. As always, with the comp, we offer that service, but just make sure you're negotiating strong. I know that people are leaving money on the table every day because they just don't know the systems and how to navigate through it, but got to make sure you're pressing, anchoring high, and being gracious and kind. And patience. Patience is a big part of it as well. Hey Jeff, I have an upcoming fit call with an HM on Monday the 16th. What kind of questions should I expect? This is for a BSA role. So, with these fit calls, we don't know. They are a absolute wild card. You can be asked anything. So, be prepared for anything. Spend time over the weekend really fine tuning a couple of your best behavioral examples. Be thinking about situations you might get into the job. You might get an open ended question. That's always possible. The most standard piece is they're going to ask you to tell them about you. So tell me about yourself. Have a great answer for that. Rule of 3 in 1 minute or less, and focus on your strengths. And then come to the table with tons of great questions, 20, 30 questions. And you should start with them. All these team match calls, it's all about you. And I'm not saying you specifically, but this is just what I've seen thematically. Make it about them. What do you love about the job? What do you love about the organization? What is the coolest and most fun thing you're working on? What have you seen that's really worked well for the team to have great success? Really ask about them, the team. That will be a game changer. Thank you for all the content. Love your unique, calm, methodical approach to Google interviewing. Calm is key because this is stressful. Stuff can be really, really stressful. So again, we always are really using our breath and really trying to slow things down. And my low and slow doesn't work for everybody, but it helps to just slow down a little bit. And thank you. Hey, Aaron, how's it going? Hey, Jeff, just completed all your on-site interviews for GCP. Cloud migration consultant. Recruiter says he is awaiting more information from business. What does that mean? No idea. So we always want to clarify if something that the recruiter tells us is unclear, tell them. Say, I'm not sure I 100% understand. Can you explain more? So more information from the business. That could simply be maybe they're thinking about headcount or they're thinking about their hiring plan, but yeah, I just don't know. And so when we don't know, when the recruiter says something that we don't know, we just got to ask. So much of this process, of the hiring process, is communication. And when things are unclear, we want to make them as clear as possible. You have 11 years of tech pre-sales experience. So I think I would be in line for a high end of L5 or low L6. How can I figure this out? Or will the recruiter let me know what level I'm at? Yeah, I mean, 11 years of experience. Yeah, I would say you'd probably be a 5. That's probably in line, but we don't know. Ask the recruiter the level. If they say they can't say, well, I'm thinking it's an L5 or L6. Can you confirm that that's the level that you're targeting? Because they go into this ridiculous state where they won't give you level, and it's totally absurd. It makes absolutely no sense. They're making no commitments to you whatsoever, but they don't like to say, so you say it for them. And that way you can usually get the data out of them. Hi, Eunice. Thanks for joining. Hi, Jeff. I just got an offer from Google. Thank you for the material techniques you provide. The anchor high method helped me get the total comp I wanted. Couldn't do it without you. Thank you. Thanks, Kai. Amazing. I love anchoring. That's just a science. That's data and science. That's psychology. Like, we can't ignore what the high anchor means. And that's all based on, again, that's based on science. So it does work. And congrats, and wish you the best of luck. And thank you for coming back and saying thank you. So this is coming back to the same question from before, but we don't have item number 1, so we're missing a little data. Made it to the end of the G interview process. However, after the last round, they informed me that they pulled the position due to a reprioritization. Okay. However, I had a backup offer from AWS, which I accepted. Okay, Logan. Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, timing is everything, right? Take that AWS opportunity and make the best of it. And obviously, if you want to revisit Google in the future, you can, because they'll probably revisit you sooner than you're ready. But always talk. You know, the talking's not taking. That comes from my old mentor Ron, who taught me that statement, and really talking isn't taking. So even if Google comes back in 2 or 3 months, at least have the conversation with them. It'll be worthwhile. How open do you think Google Cloud is to remote working? Some postings offer multiple location choices. Are those usually more open to 100% remote, even if my location is not one of the ones listed? Remote's tricky. The biggest thing that I recommend to everybody is we don't even focus in on location very much until they want to hire us. It's much easier to ask for remote when they want to hire us. They already like us. Maybe they'll show a willingness. While Google has never been a remote company, obviously COVID changed that a little bit, but they're still not a company that loves to be remote. So it's just something that you need to know and be prepared for. But it tends to be pretty hiring manager specific. So some are very open to it and some aren't. But go through the process, crush it, and then we'll just see how the chips fall. Is that even the right term? Sometimes I don't know. Okay, good luck. Completed the final round of interviews last Friday. Still no feedback from the recruiter. Position, advanced cloud technical solutions specialist for Google Poland. When should I send a follow-up? Well, Friday is not that long ago. So I would follow up this week. If you're getting really anxious, you can follow up today, but I would say maybe wait till like late morning tomorrow and follow up. Definitely follow up at some point this week though. Accepted an L3 level job offer. Recruiter said the comp, what I'm getting is maximum for the level. What are the chances of getting promoted to an L4 within a year? It depends. It's pretty hard to get promoted in a year and a half. Like if you just accepted, getting promoted at the end of next year is very viable, especially from a 3 to a 4. I don't want to tell you that it's not possible, but they're looking for you to perform at that next level for a minimum of 6 months. And that's why the year is so tough, because you're spending the first quarter onboarding. You would really have to come in and hit the ground running in the next quarter and then just crush it for the following 2 quarters to get promoted in a year. I would think more in a year and a half time frame, just to be more realistic. But get in there, crush it, and you never know. Okay, so for offer, should I wait for the recruiter to start with the initial offer or be aggressive and just make my high anchor known from the beginning? I have not seen it impacting or having a difference one way or the other. If they lead, fine, because we still haven't anchored, so they could lead low and we can anchor high. I haven't seen a major difference. Hey, if you want to throw in and lead with the anchor, good, fine, go for it. But I haven't seen a difference. I used to like for them to lead first. Then I was really pushing the anchor first, but based on all the data, and I have a ton of data, I haven't seen us going first or them going first have any impact on the overall offer. So good luck. I've completed the final round of interviews last Friday. Still no feedback from the recruiter. Oh, sorry, we answered that one. Okay, what is the typical percentage jump in comp from L3 to L4? Usually the jump in comp is, there's 2 things that happen. The base will go up quite a bit. Now that depends on market, depends on where you came in, but usually it's, L3 to L4, you probably get like a 15 to 20% base bump. So that'll be really nice. And usually when we're getting promoted on a good expectations level. So you're definitely going to be exceeding expectations, probably strongly exceeding, and maybe getting into that superb rating, which means your bonus percentage is going to be pretty high and your refresher grant will be a little higher as well. So it really hits on all 3 of those items. Okay, so she mentioned I'll receive an email with details. When would normally this on-site be? I'd like to set up time with you for training. Mildred, I might have missed. I don't have the other one, but yeah, if you haven't heard back, you can always follow up. And I always tell people, usually I'm booked out at least 5 to 7 days in advance. So it's best to get on my calendar as early as possible. Sometimes it will be open and close very, very quickly. But I think I have a lot of availability next week as of right now. Once you're in Google and you want to switch role, is it easier compared to coming from outside? Does my resume screening get bypassed? Do I have to face Googling this round again? It's easier to switch roles once you're in. It just depends. Are you switching from the same role or into a different role? If it's different role, yeah, you're going to have to redo some interviews. Oh, no worries. Yeah, so for anybody who wants, we have a Slack group. It's free. The best part about the Slack group is we get a lot of people giving data and input in a more timely manner than I'm capable of or just able to. So a lot of the community will answer the questions for each other, which is so awesome. And then people are practicing for free with each other. So people are just saying, hey, I got this AWS interview, or I got this Google interview, or I'm interviewing for X role at Meta. And people are practicing with each other. Join the Slack group. It's free. There's no commitment. And I'm always constantly learning on Slack as well. So we're together. Should I approach a final round interview with senior management any differently from any other interview? Yeah, I think when we get to the higher levels of leadership, we just want to follow that less is more model, just buttoned up just like the tiniest bit, because the higher levels of leadership, they're going to look for you to be slightly more concise. I do not want you to change your strategy based on the level, but just something to be conscious of. If you think you want to keep going, maybe back off just a little bit with senior leadership. Thank you for being positive, Tip. Keep in mind, and it helped you landing position. Awesome. Congrats. You accepted your offer for an L5 PGM. Thanks to you, your content is the best. Your mock interview you gave me the boost. Awesome. So amazing. Thank you so much for coming back and saying that. We're only 22 minutes in, and one of the biggest reasons why I love the community coming back and saying these things is it's not about me, but it's about the possibility. It's about what's possible, and with a lot of dedication and work and just some effort, getting these jobs is really possible. And even for me, I came from nobody companies in my entire career, and I just really prepped hard, and then I landed this job. And now I guess we're at over 9 years later, from the time I started at Google to now. Here we are. So it's possible. Is it possible to push the start date to a week after accepting the offer? Yeah, if you want to push the start date after you've accepted the offer, just reach out to your recruiter or hiring manager, let them know that you need another week. I start Google RDU Monday. Thanks, David. Thanks for showing up again. This is I'm just getting so much positive feedback today, which is just attributed to all the work that everybody in this community is putting in. Just finished your on-site last week. Is now a good time to follow up with the recruiter? Yeah, you can follow up now. I like about 5 business days, but if you're feeling eager, do it. Past HC, what can I do to push the team match forward? Met with 3 teams, but the feedback is pending. No reply from HR when I ask for more calls with more teams. It seems like we only get 4 weeks in the team match. Well, the 4 weeks in the team match really depends on the role and depends on your recruiter. And I hear that sometimes, but it's not consistent across the board. They can't just always throw more teams at you. So just continue to keep in good contact with the recruiter and figure out what's happening. But yeah, you can push, but if you're going to push for more team match calls, just do it in a friendly manner. It will make them more likely to help you. Content is great, really helpful, and in preparation, you got an offer from Google. Okay, wow, this is just amazing today. All the positive feedback. Thank you so much for coming back and letting us know. I know it's a lot to come back and kind of listen through these lives, so thank you. What's the difference in expectations from an L4 to an L3? Not much. Not much. They're pretty similar, and it's just going to be at every level. It's going to be that next step up, and they should be sharing that criteria with you. So you should have access to that when you join Google to show you, well, what is it at each next level? What's that step you need to get to? You're going to be able to see those internal documents once you're there. So you have a very good benchmark on where you need to be to get to the next level. But L3 to L4, it's pretty similar. I would say, across the board, L3 to L5, relatively similar. It's kind of when we're jumping into L6 and L7, maybe gets a little different, but they'll give you all the work you can handle, whether you're an L3 or an L7, right? They're gonna give you what you can take, and if you can do it, it just means you'll get promoted faster. There is no set criteria for years of experience for an L6 TPM. The only thing I would say is probably a minimum of 10, but I've seen L6 TPMs going in with 30 years of experience or 25 years of experience. It's really about relevant experience and then how you do in the interviews. Hey, Sarah, can you elaborate more on Google Cloud leadership comments you mentioned at the start of the slide? Yeah, so there was an article in Business Insider that was really talking about the number of executives, key executives who have left the Google Cloud group. And so, again, do I think that this is going to trickle down all the way into anybody director level or like below the director level? Yeah, there's probably a little bit of a trickle down effect. It's a little bit more corporate-y. It's a little bit more rigid than Google's known to be, but that's part of the growth plan. I just think it's something to track with all the kind of VP and directors leaving and a couple of critical stakeholders leading. And I think that the reality of what I've read and what I've heard is that Thomas Curran is tough and he's got that SAP mindset. Not everybody likes that. I can't speak for certain because I've never interacted with him directly. This is all from basically this is coming from online, but I definitely have had some clients who have had direct interactions with him, worked under his larger team, and so I've received all sorts of feedback. But again, I've never personally worked with him, but it's just something to keep a pulse on, Sarah, for sure. Following up on the L3, L4 difference, what needs to be done to get promoted to L5? Again, you'll have access to those internal documents that will provide those benchmarks. Each promotion is deserved. So I had two specific people that I worked with at Google. I started as a 4, got promoted to a 5, and these two colleagues of mine, one was on my direct team and one was on a collaborative team. And these two people went 3, next year 4, next year 5, next year 6. Did they deserve it? Absolutely. Were they better recruiters, better communicators, better at everything that I did? Absolutely they were. And that's why they got promoted year after year. So there are outliers who will get promoted year after year, but it's just because they're constantly performing at the next level. Mighty Shenanigans, hi, how are you? This is again one of my favorite online names. How long between application at G and reaching out? Usually I guess the internal dialogue is if you haven't heard back in a month or two, they've probably moved on with other applications. Thank you so much for the videos. You may be getting interviewed for a network manager role, which has been deprioritized so they can hire team engineers. How long might that take? No clue. Yeah, I really have no idea. The only thing you can do is stay in touch with your point of contact. Just got a verbal offer for an L3 SWE in Mountain View. Just want to say thank you for everything you do. Information, share for free is unreal. Thank you so much. I know we've been on this journey for a while together. I know you've been in a bunch of these lives, so thank you so much for showing up and letting us know. I mean, this is awesome. We're a half an hour in and we've gotten at least 10 of these, so it's amazing. Again, can't say it's based on your performance to go from a 4 to a 5. What is a good breakage in terms of a 200K in base stock and bonus? Well, if you had a 200K package, you'd probably want to be around, if you're at 200K total, probably, 120, 130-ish base, then we're probably talking 15% bonus and then the rest in equity, something like that. If I joined Google as an early career software engineer, how Google would help me extend my experience on cloud and shift towards that path? Well, that's really on you. You got to be really proactive that that's the path that you're looking to take, and make sure that you're emphasizing your interest in the cloud space. Don't push it too early on, but get your time in there and decide if that's really the path you want to take. I hope that helps. We're at the 30s. On the 30s, I'll always prompt practiceinterviews.com. We have interview coaching, negotiation coaching, and the course until 11:59 p.m. Pacific time today. If you use the code DOG, D-O-G in all caps, you get $100 off the course. What is the roadmap to get a job in Google Cloud? There is no roadmap. There is no exact path to land in Google Cloud. If you have an unbelievable background that you think is very strongly aligned, you can apply. It's not my favorite. You can use the networking approach where you give first, you go on LinkedIn, you reach out to second connections, you share articles, you share videos, you comment on people's items, but you don't ask for anything. It's a longer approach. At some point, somebody is going to come back and try and help you, but we can't ask for anything. That's my networking philosophy. And then just upping your knowledge in the cloud space as much as you can, get certifications, take courses. Just having that general knowledge will be really helpful in the interviews. Hi, Jeff. Just curious, what is the usual annual increment percentages for G? Yeah, so merit increases can be 3 to 5 to 7 to 9%. Just depends on the year. Depends on where you're coming up in terms of the salary band. So there's a lot of different factors, but they can give you really, really good merits. I had a number of years where my merits were 7, 8, 9%. Yeah, so it's just practiceinterviews.com, and along the top, Slack, you can hit the Slack invite group and go from there. Just practiceinterviews.com. Thanks for all the valuable tips. I believe they played a big role in helping me prep and land the role at Facebook. Awesome, Simon. Thank you so much for letting us know. Yeah, it's the prep is not, I mean, we talk a lot about Google because I work there, but the reality is that these tips and tricks really work across the board. And I coach a lot of people for Meta, a lot. But congrats. Okay, thank you so much. This is just, I don't think we've ever had this many people come in and say they got the job this early into a live session. So congrats. Thanks so much for letting us know. You just signed your offer for a Google internship. However, can Google consider a part-time internship? You may want to speak with the recruiter. You may be giving it up if you can only go part-time. There's always personal circumstances, circumstances that I don't know and don't need to know, but can you go part-time? Just be wary that you might be giving it up if you really need to go part-time, because there's probably a long line of people behind you who would love to do it full-time. Just something to keep in mind. Just submitted your app for a GCP sales role. Okay, cool. Yeah, and just remember, as we go into these interviews, it's never going to be perfect, right? We're never going to be the perfect interviewer. So yeah, there's always going to be a little bit of anxiety. There's always going to be a little bit of stress. That's okay. That's part of the process. There is no perfect interviewer. Trust me, I've spoken to thousands of them. Nobody's going to come in and be perfect. So just get that process started, start prepping, start practicing, and get after it. I have a first team match call for a 2 p.m. role. Should you go to the Google Enterprise Networking team, or should I wait to explore other teams? You have 9 years of experience. Should I aim for an L5 or L6? Okay, so a lot of these items are really outside of my control. With the Google Enterprise Networking team, you would really have to see if what that hiring manager said interests you in terms of a role, career perspective, location, any of those items. So you really want to find out more about them, because like, let's say you end up with two opportunities. I always want you to go with the better manager, not the better role, because the manager will ultimately be the path to a great career. Now, in terms of L5 or L6, you're not going to be able to control that. So if they want to hire you as a 5, it's going to be a 5, and you can always ask for more interviews to up level. But when we find a team match, typically recommend that unless the hiring manager was somebody who you just were really, really concerned about, that we take it if they accept. You can always take more team match calls, but you could potentially be giving up the position, and you'll see through these lives, people sometimes end up in the team match stage and never get out of it. You're in Dubai as a graphic designer and you did a professional diploma in digital marketing. How can I join as an internship? You got to go through the internship application process. That's really the only way to get in. And my best guess is that that's closed for the summer. I don't know for sure. I don't know when the close date is, but that you may need to be looking at something for the fall or next year. You're going to have to follow their specific process. There's no real magic trick. Now you can always look up intern recruiter or university recruiter on LinkedIn and network with them, but don't ask them to get you an internship. Just share a cool article, share something with them, and maybe they'll come back and help you. Thanks so much for all you do. You're saying that, oh, okay, your recruiter yesterday, and she said you're moving to an on-site interview. When would this normally be? 2 weeks from now? Mildred, really you pick. You are the one who decides on the timeline. You give your scheduling and timeline. The only thing you would ask is, hey, if I push it out a couple of weeks, am I putting anything at risk? You just want to know that by pushing it out a little bit, you're not putting anything at risk. That's the most important item, because they might say, look, we have a lot of people, we got to get you next week. So just ask. But otherwise, you're typically just dropping your schedule and what works best for you. Dropped by 2 weeks ago to say thanks. You finished your last interview when I last dropped by and got the offer today. You're a legend. Could have done it without you. Thank you so much. I love the legend piece. I think maybe that's the first time I've ever heard that. So awesome. Congrats again. This live has been just crazy. So many people coming in with gratitude, and that's what I'm here to do. So congrats. Hey, Jeff, completed all the on-site interviews last Wednesday for accessibility analyst role in Warsaw. The recruiter responded yesterday saying the position has been canceled. What can you do now? Well, if Warsaw is your preferred market, really dive into the careers page and see if there's anything else that's very close or comparable. Send that specific link to the recruiter with a few bullets for why you're a fit and with your updated availability. And I even recommend updating the resume in the summary section to match the responsibilities of the role, if you have those skills. So take a lot of steps, be very, very proactive. That's the best way to handle it. How important is coding, hands-on, software-defined networking experience for a network ops manager? Do not believe that for a network ops manager that you would be doing coding, but you definitely want to check with the recruiter. But that I haven't really seen coding for those roles, but you always want to double check with the recruiter. You're on site, got over 4 weeks back. 2 weeks back, the recruiter told me he's not seeing any red flags and feedbacks are most likely on the positive side. And last week he had a meeting with the HM post, which they decided to push my candidature to HC. Do you think it's normal to have the HM review prior to HC? Absolutely. If there is a clear designation or a clear hiring manager as you're going through the process, then yeah, absolutely, they would review it and write a statement of support on your behalf. No, careers.google.com. Any thoughts about working at Google Cloud versus Microsoft Azure? Well, it really depends on the role, right? But Azure is a little more established. Microsoft really has the benefit of people being on the Office platform and therefore already integrated in the suite of services, and that makes it a great pivot to use Azure if they're on-prem or in a hybrid cloud or whatever they might be. So, but I mean, Google, in terms of reputation, work-life balance, and just overall compensation tends to beat Microsoft just a little bit. I mean, they're both amazing organizations, and I don't think you go wrong with either place. But just my high-level insights. In the team matching process and haven't heard anything for a couple of weeks. Is it better to follow up or wait for more? Does Google have a hiring freeze? They don't have a hiring freeze that I'm aware of. I'm not aware of a hiring freeze. There could be little hiccups, little freezes within teams, but a larger freeze I'm not aware of. But definitely follow up. If you haven't heard back in 2 weeks, follow up today. Cleared HC, recruiter said they're finalizing the offer last Friday. Shared that the offer is good, so comp committee has met, but not sharing the numbers with me yet. She said team match needs to happen first. Okay, so you just haven't done the team match yet. Is this posturing, positioning? Should I push for the number? I mean, you can talk numbers beforehand. You could say, hey, let's talk about the numbers, but ultimately it may not be a great use of their time because you've got to get team matched in order to get the offer, and that's probably why they're not spending time on it. Why they preemptively went to comp, I'm not really sure why they did that. I don't think it's a great use of their time. So you can push for the numbers if you want, see if you can have that discussion, but ultimately you need to have a team to have those numbers mean anything. So good luck. What's the probability of hearing back from Google applying online versus referrals? It's the percentage difference is extraordinary. If you go in through a referral, you are much, much more likely to get a path forward than applying online. Millions of people. I think it's like 3 million plus 4 million people apply to Google every year. The number of referrals is much smaller. They'll get more attention. After first recruiter round, is it fine to ask for 2 months to prepare for the next round? Not typically, but you just want to ask them, hey, am I putting anything at risk by delaying the interviews for 2 months? 2 months is quite a long time. So if you could push it up, I would recommend it, but just talk to your recruiter about it. Well, you don't just get calls from Google, right? There's some effort involved. And so, again, you can go through the typical path of applying. That's the hardest path in. You can network, and networking by not asking, but giving articles, videos. Most of that can be done through LinkedIn. But it's going to be really, really important to make sure that you have really strong skill alignment for the role you're looking for, because obviously the competition is fierce. How aggressive should I be in regards to asking for a promotion, of course, while I'm performing above expectations? Great question. I love the promo question. So it's a little bit in how we communicate it. Instead of saying, I should be promoted, what we do is we go to the table with a clearly defined one pager, an accomplishments page, and we go to our manager, Jane, and we say, Jane, here are the 3 or 5 areas where I really believe I've contributed to the company over the last 6 months to 1 year. And I want to talk about the viability of a promotion. And if you do not believe that this is enough to get me to the next step, then let's set a 3-month plan that will set me on the promotion path. What do I need to accomplish? Let's write out everything I need to accomplish over the next 3 months or 6 months to get promoted. It's so much about getting alignment and making sure that you're showing your value, but also if they say no, setting the plan with them. Okay, well, what does the plan look like to get promoted? And if they say, no, there's no plan, like we can't really do that, you should go to another company. Because if they're not willing to put you on a promotion plan or set that path for you, they're not a great leader and they're not supporting you, and it's time to move on. I hope that helps. Great question. Hey Jeff, you have the final loop with GCP tomorrow for an SMB account manager sales. I wanted to know if batch days make it more difficult or less difficult on interviewing. It's a great question. Yeah, I mean, it's a little tricky because batch days interviewers can be a little worn down. So that's something to remember. Batch days also don't allow you space between interviews, which can be beneficial for you. But the good news with batch days is usually quicker decisions. And if anybody's not familiar, a batch day is when they just interviewers block off their calendar for a day, day and a half, a day to interview, a half day for feedback, to write feedback. But it's where they interview a lot of people in one day. So the good news is usually it'll move faster, but it can be a little stressful on both you and the interviewers. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, so one of the things I've been trying to avoid a little bit is just giving everybody the comp expectations for every role. Not that I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it a little bit, but really can't help when I do not know the location, because there's only three things that comp teams look at. They look at level, role, and location. And location is the biggest one, is because they pay for cost of labor in that market. So if you come back and let us know the market, I might be able to help. Did Google hiring become easier to clear this year? What's the typical increase in headcount this year compared to 2019? Okay, that second question, compared to 2019, I have no idea on those stats. It's always kind of growing over time. Is it easier to clear this year? No, it's not. It never really gets easier. They're just trying to remove a little bit of hiring committee, but this is typically for some of your more clear-cut cases. So that means you already crushed the interview, so they're not going through this really silly process of putting people in hiring committee when it's clear that they're already a fit. Okay, so, but compared to 2019, I just don't have those stats on hand. Hey Jeff, joined Google as a program manager. Wanted to thank you for all the informative videos. Keep doing the great work. Thank you so much. Thank you for showing up and letting us know. Program management is obviously one of my favorite spaces, so you're going to do great. Interview panel consisted of 3 L5s and 2 L6 Eng managers. Recruiter said feedback looked good for an L5. I'm almost done team matching. Question, is there any chance they would down level to L4? Always a chance for down level, always. It's just a part of the process. Down leveling happens, and I don't want you to anticipate that you'll be down leveled. It sounds like you had a pretty good panel there, but there's always a chance. I just can't tell you the percentage chance because I don't have the interview feedback. Hi, Jeff. Currently in the team matching phase for an L3 position. A recruiter said you have 3 teams wanting to speak with me. Is there any chance that I don't match with any of them? Absolutely. But you're going to overcome that by standing like I'm standing, having this huge smile, being super enthusiastic, being ready to answer any question, including tell me about yourself, coming in with great questions that are really focused in on them to start, and then what you're going to be expected to do in the role, and it's going to be super, super positive, and then you'll likely land more than one of those opportunities, and you'll get to pick. Thanks for all the videos. You're awesome. Thank you. You've been extremely helpful in the job search. You passed the first round and you're going to team match phase. Since you're located in ATL, the recruiter said that it can be challenging since teams I could match with are in NYC. I have a second round coming up with Salesforce and they seem to be moving faster. Thoughts? Well, Atlanta's a tricky market. It's just not nearly as robust as I was on the careers page yesterday and there were like 1,300 openings in New York. So a lot of openings in New York. So it's just something to keep in mind. Don't worry about what you can't control, but if you're open-minded to New York, sometimes we got to do the reload to get the job and then we move back to the place we want to move to. I was living in San Diego. I got the job in the Bay. I moved up to the Bay. Eventually, I made it back to San Diego because that's where I wanted to be, right? And sometimes it means we need to make life changes to do that. Sometimes that's not easy. Kids, dogs, a house, anything. So lots of things to consider, but Salesforce typically will move faster. And almost always Salesforce, their comp is going to be pretty low. They're on the lower end of compensation, just something to keep in mind. But if that keeps you in your preferred market, maybe. Hiring manager moved me forward to the approvals group. What's going on in this phase, and is there any concern that you could get denied here? Yeah, if the hiring manager moved you to the approval stage, that could either be hiring committee, that could be the final end of the process. So I'm not really sure. Hopefully they made that clear for you. But the percentage chances, there's always, something can always happen. It can be a hiccup at the end, somebody doesn't think you're a fit, position gets closed. So it's never 100% until the offer is signed, sealed, and delivered. Hey, Jeff, is the bonus a part of total comp and performance bonus the same? Well, your bonus is a part of your total comp. And because if you're meeting expectations, let's say it's a 3 through 5 and you're getting that 15%, it's guaranteed. But it's performance based. If you exceed expectations, etc., that bonus will go up. Cleared HC, they said they're finalizing their offer. Last Friday mentioned offer cleared, but they haven't shared it yet. Seem to suggest team match before sharing numbers. Been a few days. Okay, we had a similar question. Yeah, maybe they'll share the numbers with you before team match. Maybe they wouldn't. I wouldn't. I just wouldn't think it would be a great use of my time. I want you to get team match before I'm going to work numbers with you. Just more effort, right? So just stick with it. Worry about the team match now. Worry about the numbers later. You pass MBA in the UK. You have project management experience. Which position should you look out for as a program manager? It's a really personal decision, right? So if you have project management and an MBA, so get any program manager roles that interest you, right? That's going to be really, really based on your background. But you should have a good opportunity to get in front of a bunch of them. You're welcome. Hi, Jeff. You had your RRK round yesterday. It wasn't perfect. You're very anxious and nervous. I tried to follow all the instructions you shared in your many videos. Whatever happens, thank you. Yeah, the waiting is tricky, very, very tricky. So all we can do is just hope for the best. And then obviously, if we haven't heard back from our recruiter, in those 5 business days, you want to make sure you follow up. Interviewing for Google Cloud Product Manager soon. Your first interview is product design and analytics. Any advice? Yeah, tryexponent.com. One more time, tryexponent.com, and look at their practice questions. Their practice questions are sourced from people who have interviewed there. So really look at design questions and analytical questions and even strategic questions, because the analytical and strategic, there's a little bit of a line there, and the line can get a little fuzzy. I have received feedback from product managers that I've coached that there were no Google Cloud questions in their product interviews. The product interviews are very random and very difficult. And I'm usually coaching at least 1 to 2 product managers a week. Here's the thing. Get past the ideation. Stop talking so much. And again, I'm casting a wide net, not you specifically, but my product managers go on and on and on, and they really are focused in on that ideation, but not so much testing, execution, and launching. And make sure you build space. Product managers tend to be chatty. Build space for your interviewer to also chat, lead, and guide you. It's going to be critical. You have an IT support manager, Platform Cloud SQL, interview to be scheduled. What course can you enroll with you for preparation? Well, I obviously do the one-on-one coaching. That's practiceinterviews.com. And then we have the course. The course is going to really help you fine-tune your behavioral answers and fine-tune the open-ended answers and kind of pull it all together. There's 25 modules. It's robust, and I recommend for anybody who's interested in the course sooner rather than later, just because there's a ton of content in there. No. No, is it true that Google does not accept a candidate if they failed 3 times? It just gets much harder. That's just kind of like I'm flashing back and looking at G-Hire, which is the internal applicant tracking system. And if I saw a candidate failed 3 times, I would say, oh, do I really want to take the risk and try them again? Now, if each time they failed, they showed a trajectory or they showed a path of improvement, yeah, maybe I would up the consideration. If each time it was pretty close, yeah, I would consider them. But it depends on what that feedback looks like. If each time it was really not great, then the likelihood really goes down after a few times. Hi, Jeff. Sorry about that. This is GL3 Playa Vista with high interview scores. Okay, high interview scores, chuck it, throw it out. It doesn't matter. Your high interview scores versus Bob, who just skated through, it's gonna be the same, right? So L3 account strategist, Playa Vista, you're trying to push year one as close to 2 as possible, but it's probably going to be in the high ones, ideally. Jeff, I think this is, oh, okay. Yeah, we got it. Is it true that Google does not accept a candidate? Oh, okay. So no reason to repeat questions. I'll get to them. Well, you can actually, they'll hire a quote unquote manager level at L4 and above, but usually L4 managers don't have direct reports and really kind of internally. I don't think it was set like an L4 could have like maybe some contractors that they lead, but really at L5, that's when you can actually be a kind of a people manager, but there's a lot of manager titles that don't have any direct reports. And remember to throw the titles out, especially at a company like a Google or any of these big tech companies, especially Google. Titles are ego. We care about the money, right? The money is what we're after. Titles will come over time. CEL5 Bay Area, definitely want to get into the 3s, Brian, okay? Okay, just answered that. What would be your top advice for someone that is working on doing a career change to a software engineer, getting experience and being self-taught? Get after it. There's a lot to learn, and because you are coming from a different path, it can be really beneficial, but some of the foundational stuff will just be missed. So make sure you're learning it and then you're practicing it on LeetCode or Pramp or any of these million sites where you can practice with others. But this is a great path. Somebody who's self-taught also will have a unique lens, unique strategies. So I definitely highly recommend it. I love seeing that path. But you just got to get after it. You got to put in the time. You got to put in the work to learn the code and practice the code. Good luck. Need your help? You're in PGM L5 Select since January, but your recruiter hasn't found a good team match yet, so she suggested you apply online to other positions. I did and got an email from another recruiter. Okay. When I mentioned to the new recruiter that I'm a PGM Select, she suggested that I work with my current recruiter and then stopped responding. I let my current recruiter know. She spoke with the new recruiter and replied that they are both looking for roles with no answer to what happened to the role for the recruiter contacted me. Yeah, you just need to keep going back to them. Make sure you have clear lines of communication. You're doing everything right. You followed the path of your recruiter. Now, your initial recruiter was lazy. They shouldn't ask you to go reapply for roles when you're in the team match. They should say, share roles that you think are a fit with me, and you should be sharing the roles with your first recruiter. You should be sharing bullets for why you're a good fit. You should be giving an updated resume for that specific role with your availability. That's the better path. These recruiters, when the team match gets long, they get lazy and they don't want to help. And I get it. It's hard to keep all these people in the loop, but asking you to reapply when you're in the team match stage is a little rough. So keep them both on the thread for now. You may end up dropping off the old one, dropping off the new one, but just continue to keep the lines of communication open. I hope that helps. No, there's no coding for customer engineers. Thanks for your answers. Really appreciate your patience going through all the questions. I'm actually learning a lot from you to be patient and clear. Yeah, and I think you'll see even in these lives, I have my moments, right? Patience is challenging for all of us at moments. And sometimes I'll get some questions, or I'll get somebody who will repeat the same question 30 or 40 times in these posts, or I'll get 18 questions in a row about total comp in an area, and my patience level will go down a little bit. But just a constant reminder for us to breathe, slow down a little bit. These are just critical items that will help us have success in all aspects of our life, in all forms of communication. Okay, we're at that hour mark. Practiceinterviews.com. I do interview coaching, negotiation coaching, and if you want to get the interview course until 11:59 p.m. Pacific time today, if you use the code DOG in caps, DOG in caps, it would be a $100 discount. On the negotiation coaching side, I just want to mention that there is a lot to consider. I really, truly believe, and it doesn't have to be me, but anybody who's getting into the offer stage, the return on investment in hiring a negotiation coach, it's just the return on investment's crazy. Now you got to get the job first, but I see people passing on the negotiation stuff, and it's like, I just know they're leaving money on the table, and I feel bad, but I can't convince people of the value of it, but I can tell you the value is very high. I didn't think you did well in the last interview with the executive for an ABP, and finished 10 minutes early after I asked at least 4 or 5 questions. The executive did mention that I asked interesting questions. Not sure if this can seem as a positive sign. Yeah, so we can't get too fixated or too worried about it now, because we just can't go back, right? It's usually not as good of a sign that it ends early, but sometimes with these executives, they're super busy. They like our questions. They just want to hop off early. Is that the right thing to do? No, they shouldn't be hopping off early when there's a dedicated amount of time. But all you can do is move forward. Hopefully the fact that you ended strong with questions will lead them to consider you. Good luck. Interviewing for G, your application was initially handled by recruiter A, but after the first interview screen passed, she said she's going on a long vacation and will transfer to recruiter B. Okay. All right, let's see. Okay, sorry, I'm going to scroll down quite a bit to get to the second one. And then I had the interviews with the HMs, but later told by the recruiter B that they're reopening the position to allow new applicants, and you'll have to wait. Should I read into this? Or should I just wait? Well, you should definitely follow up in a manner that your recruiter, work on that with your recruiter. Are you going to follow up once a week, check in once every 2 weeks? It's probably because you did well, but they wanted to just see more candidates. So was your interview perfect? Probably not, right? So, but just figure out the cadence with that recruiter. Just ask. Email them and say, how often can I check in? I want to make sure I'm showing my interest in keeping a pulse. Is it once every week, once every 2 weeks, once a month? Because you want to make sure that they're not forgetting about you. But if it was a poor interview experience, they let you go. So there's enough positive data in there that they want to keep considering you. Why do you think Amazon's new grad SDEs interviews are so easy? What's the point in hiring so many underqualified candidates just to pip them out months later? Why not filter at the interview stage? Well, I don't know that everybody would agree with you that the new grad interviews are that easy. If they're putting a lot of people on pips, maybe that's more of a cultural item, right? Amazon is known to sometimes have a bit of a tough culture. So can't say that for every role, every manager at Amazon. That's not going to be true across the board, but maybe this is a cultural thing. Maybe they like to make the interviews a little easier and then pip people. That's not a great process, right? But I can't really speak to that because I imagine that those coding interviews would be pretty tough for me because I cannot code. Is it true that Google does not accept a candidate? Okay, so we answered that question. With 4 years of work experience as a software engineer, what level should you apply to? I mean, it'll be a 3 or a 4. I think, if you can get in as a 4, that would be great. Could you tell? I'm not sure. Could you tell about Google VISI hiring to build new chips? I don't know anything about that. Thank you for the videos. You're having your third on-site G&L as a commodity manager. Watch your latest video about non-technical role. Should I expect similar types of questions that you mentioned? Yeah, I mean, the G&L is the most consistent interview. So it's going to basically look consistent across the board. So I definitely want you to focus in on those items. And good luck. What does fail entail? As in the final interview or phone call? Not sure I understand the question. Maybe you can restate it for me. Hi, Jeff. Thanks for the one-on-one session. Before the G interview, you had the GCA and G&L interviews. The RRK was rescheduled. Do you know who has the better pay package between Google versus AWS versus Azure? So usually Google number one, followed by AWS and Azure. They can kind of go back and forth a little bit. Amazon hasn't been paying quite as well lately, but I love the reduced share price right now. I think anybody who joins Amazon now, once that split happens, you're going to see a big opportunity to make some money there. Same with Google, of course. Would you be able to share a good target comp to aim for? L7 product manager. I just we'll confirm. We'll go product manager, AI, ML, Bay Area. Don't have a good reference or anchor point. For a product manager, if we're just talking IC, I would be anchoring probably in the. I'd probably be definitely anchoring into the 7s for sure. This role is going to pay quite a bit, so I would probably anchor in the high 7s and expect to make somewhere in the 6s. Just had a team match call this morning with one of the ABPs on a team that if I make it to the next round, it will be with the directors of that team. Any idea on how to best prep for a call with directors? Yeah, well, so for ABPs, so much of this is about prioritization, organization, really staying on point, and having an opinion, having a path, liking a path, because owning it and taking that path is going to be critical. Those are my biggest suggestions. And remember, just a little bit of less is more. Stay really, really concise with executives. I've applied for an MS for program manager. I've applied to MS for program manager role. Recruiter just contacted me for putting virtual event, but she's pushing for saying that the June event is full. Okay. How can I be assertive, positive, and get a spot in the June event if I don't have a current counteroffer? Just mention your enthusiasm and say, you'd love to be put on a wait list or you'd love to be considered if anybody drops out because you're really, really excited about the opportunity, and just push back a little bit in a really positive way. If you bombed an interview with the HM but had a positive relationship with the recruiter, is there a likelihood the recruiter might give you another opportunity with another HM? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. It depends on how badly the interview is bombed, because that could become a tough data point for the recruiter. But should you try and work with your recruiter on this? Yeah, you should. We don't know yet. We don't have all the feedback. Typically, people have a good pulse on if they bombed or not. But yeah, you should try and work with your recruiter, but I just can't guarantee what exactly they'll do. Hi, Jeff. Uber L4 or Google L3? What do you think is good career-wise in terms of compensation? Alpha Uber greater than Google L3. Also, should one worry about Uber hiring freeze while making the decision? All I can tell you is comp over time at Google is way better than comp over time at Uber. That's all I can say. And the value of a brand. What's the value of Uber's brand versus Google's brand? But ultimately, the decision is going to be on you. Those are just 2 data points to consider. Hi, Jeff. Great content. Really liked all your videos. Have leadership and Googliness interview this week. Any tips? Yep. Always the same tips. Both sides of the coin, negative, unethical, conflict, somebody's being left out, negative culture. Answer those questions and try and turn them into positives, then positives, mentorship, inclusivity, all those sorts of items. Just make sure that you're prepared for both behavioral and open-ended, even though they lean behavioral. Cleared all rounds for the tech ops lead. After 2 weeks, HR said your profile is kept on hold till they are meeting with other candidates. Is this normal or a kind of rejection? It's not a rejection. I would not hold on to you, or I would close out your candidacy if I wasn't still considering you. But there's a little something in there that wasn't ideal or perfect. So just know that, but you're just going to have to be patient. Just continue to check in with your recruiter, and you can ask them how often you can check in. I've been a software engineer for 15 years. Recruiters said I'd be a fit for an L5 or L6. We decided to stick with L5 since I'm mostly coding now. Do you think it's a good choice? Yeah, I think it's a great choice. If you go in and you are really above an L5, you'll get to an L6 quickly. You're welcome. Did all your rounds for Google Cloud. Okay, good. This is the second part. First recruiter I had was horrible and gave no feedback. Thanks for all your tips. Yeah, we gotta push on those recruiters occasionally. Thanks for answering the target comp L7 PM. Jeff, you mentioned anchoring into the 700s. Is that your 4-year average or first year? Now with Google, we gotta go first year. Can't do 4-year average. Recruiters are getting confused. They don't understand. So you're really talking about year 1, okay, into the 7s. Thanks. Last question. What is the culture like at Google Customer Solutions team? Excited about your on-site interview. I can't speak to the culture of any specific team because so much of it is driven and about current leadership, which I just don't know, right? And I was never on that team. So that's something that you're going to really have to figure out through the interview process, whether that's just speaking directly with the hiring manager or in the team match stage. You need to ask very positive, warm questions. Just get a feel for their personality type. Unfortunately, we're never truly going to know until we get there if the culture is an ideal match for us or not. Joined Google Cloud recently, and your content was immensely helpful during your interview prep. You and your team are awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming back and letting us know. And good luck. If your recruiter leaves the company, does your past applications also get deleted? Absolutely not. For any of these companies, their applicant tracking system should keep track of everything, from your interviews to the emails to all communication. Everything should be in the system. Hi, Jeff. Thanks for the feedback. You have a phone screen with a recruiter for client development manager for BCG. Do you know if the interviews would follow the same stars CFA style like Google? For BCG, you're probably going to get a little bit of a mix of behavioral and maybe a little open-ended. So yeah, just be prepared for anything. It's star and then CFAS. Okay, sorry, the S was small. I couldn't see that. So make sure you're following those methodologies. Those are across the board methods. They're not just Google specific. We're going to always use the STAR method for behavioral questions, and we're always going to use CFAS for open-ended questions. Any insights into the hiring freeze, layoffs related to GCP teams? Look, I haven't, you hear all these things about hiring freezes and layoffs and like it happens for a minute and then they're back to hiring again. So I don't read too much into that. But again, I think if you don't have a subscription to Business Insider, it's a great resource. And I thought that the article that came out yesterday on Thomas Curran was interesting, but keep a pulse. I was there so many times they were like, we're not going to hire anymore, we're not going to do this, and then literally 2 weeks later they were hiring more people or rehiring people, and I never believe it. We'll keep a pulse on that. We'll continue to discuss that. I know that's not a super helpful answer. I don't know. I do not know how they're expanding their chip business. I mean, there's so many things going on, and what I'm more focused in on is foundation, right? So I keep the pulse on some items at Google, but not everything. I don't know everything. There's articles that I read. I obviously have my internal resources who are sharing not confidential information, but just trending data that I could probably find in other places. But I don't know every part of their business, and I have no idea about the chip business. I'm not as familiar with that. You're welcome. How Google shortlist UX portfolio? Well, are you trying to get hired there? I'm not really sure of the question. How do you get on the shortlist? You can apply. That's the worst path. You can do networking, but how to get shortlisted? You're going to just have to follow the same kind of patterns, but I like a more proactive giving first networking strategy. That's always my recommendation. How flexible are start dates at G for ABPs? I'm interviewing now, but won't it be able to start till August? Usually pretty flexible, but it depends. There could be a need. So the good news is ABP, that process usually takes a long time once you get to the T-match stage, so you might be okay. If and when you get to that stage, don't open up that dialogue until you get there, okay? How technical is a technical program manager should be? So it depends. It's very domain specific. Some TPMs are very just technical within their domain. Then you have a TPM, software engineering, where they're very technical, they're doing coding. So it really depends on the specific role. Maybe. I mean, if you're bringing all this information to the table, I think probably the answer is yes. Thanks for all the insightful content. It's been great for calming my nerves as I navigate the tail end of the Google hiring process. Absolutely, come back and keep us posted. Hi, Jeff. For an L4 program manager role in Waterloo, Canada, what is the total comp would be anchor for year one? How does that break down by base, performance bonus, and equity in year one? L4 program manager, I would be anchoring into the Waterloo. I would be anchoring like, I don't know, it's up to you, 245, 255, 265, something like that. And just go on to practiceinterviews.com, grab that sheet. I have a negotiation sheet on there that you can use for free, and you'll be able to figure out the breakdown based on those numbers. Okay, I'm going to really guide you to back to my YouTube page for this, because I have 2 program management videos, and we have the program manager framework video. So I would say watch those 3 videos. That's going to really teach you a lot. The biggest thing about program manager roles is you have to be good on both sides of the coin. You've got to be good at project program management, and then you have to be good in the specific domain area that you're interviewing for. Without both skills, they won't hire you. Good luck. Okay, assuming you start as a Google Cloud engineer, what are some popular career paths? Well, growth within that space. Sometimes cloud engineers want to go more on the sales side, more on the consulting side, more on the analytics side. Sometimes this could even be a shift all the way over to program management. All sorts of paths, because you have to have the people skills and some of the technical skills. So it's pretty wide open. Hello, Jeff. Had 4 interviews in February for a technical solutions specialist, I'm assuming. 1 went not so well. I had a 5th that went well. Your recruiter was going to share some feedback for more than a month. Haven't heard from him. Follow up. Today is the day. So definitely follow up and see what's going on. Okay, we've hit the end of questions. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to prompt, we're going to end, and then any final questions that come in, I'm happy to answer them. Practiceinterviews.com. We have interview coaching, negotiation coaching, and our course till 11:59 p.m. today. If you go to our course, you just need to go on the homepage, scroll down, hit enroll now. It will take you through the process of our sales page. If you use the code DOG, D-O-G in caps, $100 off till 11:59 Pacific time today. We have a ton of free resources on that free resources page, specifically 9 free resources that I think really help. Join our Slack group. The community is really great on that Slack group. People are practicing together, sharing questions and answering questions together. And as always, I'll do these lives every single Wednesday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, and then a new video every other Tuesday. Hey, if you like what we do today, please smash that like button. And if you like my overall content, please subscribe. Thank you so much.